Hello and welcome to Odds on Champions League match day 6 games on Wednesday, and we have some great games, especially I would point to Real Madrid, Man City, but also we have the champions PSG. So we gather a great team here, Alain, Valnegri, Leo, Bachanian, to analyze with us, to tell you the best tips in these last games of the Champions League of 2025. So guys, get ready. Of course, let me know in the comments who are you backing, who do you think are gonna win these games, and don't forget to press the like and subscribe to see if we can reach the 40k subscribers before the year ends. And now let's analyze all the games. Let's go on with the show. Two early kickoffs, as always, this Wednesday. We travel far. In the first one, Qarabağ, Ajax, and surprisingly, Alain, Qarabağ are favorites in a Champions League game because they are doing a great campaign. In Europe is 7 points with them at home. They drew with Chelsea and beat Copenhagen. Or Benfica, they could be one of the biggest surprises of this edition, qualifying for the playoffs, and the opposite for Ajax, the worst team in this Champions League. 0 points, 16 goals conceded, only one score. The only positives, I guess, Alain, is that they have corrected a little bit their trajectory in the Eredivisie.
Yeah. Yes, we waited that put Ajax this season in the sense of after the drama of the last season when they lose the title in the last 5 journey, they changed a lot of things. A lot of young players came. Is a new generation, a new cycle in Amsterdam. And in the history of Ajax, we know that now. And Ajax changed the cycle. The first season is always the same. They fired 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐵𝐻. Glimt came. In the last 2 games, we saw a little improvement. Maybe Groningen and Fortuna Sittard are not the reference to understand if the team start finally his season. But it's the first moment of the season. Ajax won 2 consecutive games. And yes, that one is an improvement. It's a good test now. Go to Baku to play against this Qarabağ. Qarabağ is a really beautiful project. Since 10 years now in Europe, they do a really good campaign. And yes, this one is the best. I think the team take experience. We saw in Napoli to do a good game, especially in the first half, to resist to Napoli. After in the second half, the team fell down because Napoli, when the team is fit, Napoli is really difficult to play in Maradona Stadium. Qarabağ is really favorite. I think they deserve to have that. Warning, it can be a dangerous game, but I love the danger, and I choose Qarabağ winning, odds 2.00.
Even against Athletic, they took the lead, and their first half was good in San Mamés. One of the surprises, Leo, of this Champions League, and as I said, especially at home, not even Chelsea were able to win here.
Yes, absolutely, Edu. And look, they just lost one of the previous 5 European matches, and they have scored at least twice in each of their last 4 at home, Qarabağ. So yes, if they play at home, they are strong, and that's what they are showing this season. They are one of the surprises. I mean, I wasn't expecting them to be at this stage, match day 6, and on a playoff position. And if they win against Ajax, they could almost guarantee for themselves that spot, which would be a massive achievement. And on the other hand, we have an Ajax, which is yes, last season they won 3-0 in Azerbaijan in Europa League. But now I think there is no one who thinks they can win, let alone by that margin.
And for a club like the size of Ajax, a big club in Europe, is a complete disaster this season. Taking into context as well, yes, what as Alain was explaining, the change of cycle, but still, to have scored only 1 goal and conceded 16 in 5 games is to be the only team left to grab a point. Well, I think we haven't seen that coming. They are currently on 8 match losing streak in UEFA club competitions. When you add the 3 losses they suffered at the end of the Europa League last season campaign. Yes, it's true they have corrected a little bit in the last 2 games their trajectory in the Eredivisie, but the time they lost on match day 5, then they lost against Excelsior and Utrecht as well, which are not actually powerhouses in the Eredivisie. So yes, the odds are good on Qarabağ, and I will take them, and I'm gonna combine X1 with the goals over 1.5. These two together, odds of 2.54.
Well, Qarabağ with the same points as Barcelona or Napoli, for instance, in this Champions League, and the other early kickoff in Spain, Villarreal, Copenhagen. Very likely these 2 teams will be out of the Champions League. Villarreal only 1 point, Copenhagen 4, but they play in Villarreal and then against Napoli and Barcelona, so the schedule is going to be very difficult. Villarreal would need the 3 wins in the 3 remaining games, but it's going to be very difficult. Leo, we are seeing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for Villarreal. A really good face in La Liga. They are 3rd. They beat Getafe. They have a lot of quality. We saw it at the weekend again with 𝐿𝐿, for instance, or Buchanan. But in this Champions League, only 1 point against Juventus, even losing to Pafos. Let's see if they are able at least to get the first win of the campaign in Europe.
Yes, and I guess it might be difficult to take that they won't make it even to the playoff when they're having such an amazing season in La Liga, winning 11 and losing 2 of their 15 matches so far, because the contrast couldn't be bigger, no, with the Champions League campaign, very dismal with just 1 point. Yes, the fixture haven't been candid with them because Manchester City, Juventus, Tottenham, Dortmund, and probably it's true that before the start of the campaign in the Champions League and looking at those fixtures, I don't know how many would have given Villarreal the 3 points in those games, but seeing how the domestic season has unfolded, there is a sense that things could have gone a little bit better for them. The win in Cyprus, or the game in Cyprus, was a must, and they ended in defeat. With Dortmund, anyway, when you look at the scoreline, the Thrashing 4-0, I mean, you could think that there was not much at all for them. However, it seemed a little bit excessive punishment for them. They were the better side in the first half, but they suffered. But they conceded a goal on added time before going into the break. And then in the second half, when they were trying to mount a comeback, they suffered the red card for Juan Foyth, 2 quick goals, which of course knocked them out of contention on the game. In Germany, Marcelinho chose a physical imposing midfield with 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 and with Thomas Partey. Now Partey is injured. I think he will go this time for a more creative option with Dani Parejo, or Comesaña could come inside to leave the flank only to Buchanan. A must win for Villarreal. They need to win all the 3 games left and wait. Copenhagen, Ajax, and Leverkusen is the fixture for Villarreal, and even that won't be enough probably for them with 10 points. And for Copenhagen as well, a must win after that crucial win against Kairat on match day 5. It looked easy at some point when it was 3-0, but the game got scary with Kairat pushing for a draw in the last stages. Anyway, even if they win on Wednesday as well, and then they surprise Napoli at home, they will close the league stage away in Catalonia. So I have no hopes on them reaching a playoff. My take here is Villarreal to win, combined with Villarreal first team to score. These 2 together, 2.2.
All right, Alain, a little bit disappointing this Villarreal in Europe. They competed in the first half, especially in Dortmund against Tottenham, but they are not scoring.
It's strange. It's strange because team is a good mix, being between young player and player with experience. Right now, the things for Villarreal is the last call. If they want to catch a spot in the for the playoff, it will be difficult. But in my opinion, after their play against Ajax, after their travel to Leverkusen, they must to catch 9 points. And yes, against Copenhagen, that run start. Villarreal is totally healthy, is in a very good moment in Liga, because when we see Villarreal in Liga, they deserve to be third right now. They have more balance than Atletico Madrid, for example. The defense is perfect. The attack is not a big attack, but they have 2 goals average score per game. Yes, we wait his version against Copenhagen is a good opportunity for Villarreal, because Copenhagen is in a really bad moment. In the last game against 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲, Copenhagen lose at home. Right now, Copenhagen is 12 points down to Aarhus. Fans start to make ironia in the last game, to said ole when the rival team touched the ball. Nistrup is probably is the most delicate moment since he's in the bench in Copenhagen. After the game, he said, "I am not scared to lose my job, but I understand we must to have that debate, because the team are not in the line with the goal." Copenhagen, in my opinion, the next game Saturday is his last game in 2025. They play the second round of Danish Cup, and they must to manage a score with 2 goals more, and this game is more important, in my opinion, than the game in Champions League, because Danish Cup right now is the objective, because 12 points is difficult to recover that distance. For that reason, for the moment of both teams, I choose Villarreal winning with 1.5 goals, odds 1.75.
And we stay in Spain. We go to the north. Athletic, PSG. Athletic also saying goodbye to this Champions League. Very likely only 4 points. They must win here, but it was a really step backwards. They couldn't beat Slavia Prague in their last game. Only 1 win against Qarabağ. They've been very poor the whole season, apart from the win they got against Atlético de Madrid. Probably one of the best games of the season, with Nico playing slightly better. So here, Alain, I guess we should place PSG really as favorites. Finally, they got a good game in France, smashing Ghana at the weekend.
Yes, their reaction when they decide to play seriously. In my opinion, Luis Enrique make a lot of turnover, but he needs to do that. He must to do that, because he had some injury player, but the machine is going well. Now Athletic, in my opinion, the draw in Praga can be the 2 points team will need at the end of this Champions League, because after Atalanta is going well in Europe, but you can catch points. After you receive Sporting, you can catch point, and Athletic is only 2 points difference to Pafos. But the game there must to win is this one. Is this one to put pressure to stay in the group of the team qualify for the playoff. Athletic, the season is difficult because Athletic don't have 18 players to play every 3 days, and they're paid that. In the last 3 weeks, I think we saw an improvement, but we have the game against the biggest team, against Real Madrid, against Barcelona, where the team was really poor, really far to the level of the top European. The game against Atletico Madrid, yes, we saw a reaction, but it's more a hard reaction than a technical reaction. And yes, PSG, I wait a lot about the team. We know PSG is the objective to this season, more than every trophy in France, is winning the second in a row consecutive Champions League. And I don't choose 1x2 because when the game in San Mamés are difficult to predict, I choose the market of goal over 2.75 goals, odds 2.00.
Usually it's difficult going to San Mamés, as it was shown by Atletico de Madrid at the weekend. Real Madrid won comfortably there, Leo, and it's a pity for Athletic, so many years fighting to get into the Champions League, such a special club, and then they are not competing well in Europe in general this season.
Yes, and that's the thing, I would say in general, Edu, because and I'm surprised to see that Athletic Bilbao is just 1 point away from Europa League spot and 8 from the Champions League one in La Liga, because at least every time I watched them this season, they haven't been a great watch. I mean, yes, they had good snaps in games, like for example in Europe, 20 minutes or half an hour, or the first half, you want to push it further against Arsenal at home in this league stage. But overall, a bit of a mediocre season. Even those traits that we usually associate with Athletic Bilbao, like intensity and fighting spirit, hasn't been there all the time for Ernesto Valverde's team. Teams do not need their best version this season to win games against them. Again, as I said, with the Villarreal, probably fixtures has not been nice with them. Arsenal at home, Dortmund, Newcastle away are not games I would expect them to win straight away, but the 0-0 in Prague was a huge blow to their aspirations. They played timidly in the first half. They never controlled the game. For me, it's a total lack of confidence choosing to play at the counter against Slavia Prague. Yes, they had big chances with Navarro in the second half. I think he had like 3 chances, but always in transition, always a reactive Athletic. With Real Madrid last week at home, it wasn't much in offer for them in their 3-0 defeat. So you can't help thinking how they will do to stop PSG, if PSG takes the game as seriously as I believe will do, how they will stop Vitinha. His exhibition against Tottenham on Matchday 5, one of the best we have seen in any competition this season. On the weekend, yes, they dismantled run 5-0 at home. They had that setback with Monaco away, true, but for me, it's very difficult to see how Athletic will left unscratched this game. I will take the X1 and differently than Alain. I will go with PSG to win 1.6, and also Vitinha, one shot on target, odds of 2.37 is one I could take.
Okay, PSG already won this season in Spain. Remember, they beat Barcelona with a lot of absentees. And a difficult one for 1x2 is Leverkusen. Newcastle, Leverkusen, 8 points, lost to Augsburg and Dortmund in the Bundesliga, but it was one of the biggest surprises of the last match day in Europe, beating Man City. Remember, they also beat Benfica, so, well, I guess if we forget the 2-7 against PSG, they are doing a good season in Europe, and Newcastle, even with 1 point more, 9 points, it's very likely that we see these two teams in the playoffs in February, but away from home, there are a lot of question marks, Leo, both in Europe and in the Premier League, even if they beat Everton recently away, but it's a team that suffers when they travel.
Yes, absolutely, Edu, and the 2-1 defeat with Marseille on Matchday 5, that was their 4th consecutive away defeat for Newcastle. But again, you always, or at least if they play at the level we've seen them on the weekend, but that was at home and against Burnley, you could trust them. It's often the case that the inspiration for Newcastle comes from the right foot of Bruno Guimaraes, and that happened again on the weekend. I don't know, guys, if you have seen it, but a beautiful 𝐬𝐵𝐵𝐴 goal from Guimaraes to keep, and also he will be the key, yes, in Germany, to keep Newcastle on track of straight last 16 qualification. That defeat with Marseille that I just mentioned, it was a setback absolutely in that quest, but they are still just 1 point behind Sporting. They would need Guimaraes, they would need the pace of Anthony Gordon on one side, the pace of Elanga on the other side. This Newcastle failed to win any of the 10 matches in which Guimaraes has not started since his debut in 2022. So that's just show how key he is for Eddie Howe, which was strange to see him on the bench. Guimaraes 2 games ago, but now of course he will start in Germany. Saturday was important for Newcastle, and looking forward for Wednesday, because after 96 days and after 50 millions, 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐻 made his debut, the ex-Brentford forward. He injured his knee in September, playing for Congo. That situation added a little bit of pressure on 𝐬𝐵𝐴𝐻 to deliver straight away, although he absolutely responded to that. But it's a very welcome addition to have 𝐻𝐻 for Newcastle. He's a very direct player as well. He could become another threat in transition for Eddie Howe, which is one of the best they have in their game, Newcastle, to play in transition. Actually, they done it again on Saturday. Every time Newcastle wins the ball back in their own half, you know that in 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds they're going to be already on the other side. And Leverkusen came with one of the shocks of Matchday 5 with that win away at the Etihad against Manchester City. They lost only 1 of their last 6, winning 3 and drawing 2 against English opposition, and they kept 4 clean sheets on those games, on those 4 games. I don't see any way a clean sheet in this one against Newcastle. I won't go X1 or X2, but I'm going to go for the goals market in this Leverkusen Newcastle. Goals over 2.5, odds of 1.78.
What is your take, Alain? The bookies even place Newcastle slightly favored for this game, but I don't see it this way, actually.
Because Leverkusen already don't win at home in this Champions League. It's strange, the record of Leverkusen in the 5 games, 2 games at home, draw against Copenhagen and losing against Paris Saint-Germain. Away is brilliant, because they're won in difficult field like Manchester and City. Benfica is not his best moment, but is always difficult to catch a point, and in Copenhagen. Now waiting for his best version at home. The game in Augsburg, the last journey in Bundesliga was a no game for Leverkusen. They dominate the game, but there was not accurate in the last 16 meters. And for a team like Leverkusen, is important to have that accuracy, because it's a team have the possession of the ball. Right now we saw some different skills about the team. 𝐬𝐿 worked really well in the counter attack. Maybe it was one of the limit of this team, and we saw that especially in Manchester against City, a team really able to change the skin during the game. Now against Newcastle is interesting opposition of style. Newcastle is a pure energy team. It's difficult to wait intense game every 3 days for Newcastle. Against Tottenham, we saw some limit in the management of the results, but Newcastle is like that. His image is a sincere team, and normally the team of Newcastle are really funny, because we have risk, because Newcastle attack but concede, and yes, it's one of the team I prefer to watch in Europe this season, and in my opinion, like Leo, sorry, is a goal market game because I saw Leverkusen unlock the victory at home, but I don't choose the victory. I choose over 2.75 goals, odds 1.90.
Another interesting game is Benfica, Napoli, Mourinho against Antonio Conte. Antonio Conte winning the big games in Italy. Another great win for the Partenopei against Juventus, playing way better than the rival with Højlund with Neres shining. But in Europe is the great question mark always for Antonio Conte and for this Napoli, 7 points. It's true that they got the last win against Qarabağ, very important, but they couldn't beat Frankfurt, and especially in the last trip, they lost 6-2 in Eindhoven. So they have to win to qualify at least for the playoff, and Benfica also need the points. Alain, only 3 points is win or go home for Mourinho's Benfica.
Yes, right now, yes, Antonio Conte yesterday won against Juventus with a lot of injury player, because when you have out Lobotka, De Bruyne, and Zambo Anguissa, you must to rebuild, to redraw not only the midfield line, all the team. But yes, we saw yesterday a really serious game in defensive way. Brilliant team in the pressure, especially in the first half. Juve don't exist. Neres brilliant. Neres played in Benfica, and that one can be a factor for Napoli. Yes, Antonio Conte after their losing Bologna, go 5 days holidays, and in Italy the press was really critical with that and said, yes, it's the beginning of the end. Conte will believe. And since Conte is back, he won against Juventus, he won against Roma, direct rival for the Scudetto. And we saw a team with another energy. So he beat Atalanta too. Yes, something changed in the vestry in Napoli. Is again a Conte team. And in Benfica, we wait that, because when he's a Conte team, Napoli is difficult to move. And we saw a team with really good physical condition in the last game. With that model of play you need to be able to run a large career in the field, and we saw that. We saw that Noah Lang, yes, he's start to adapt in Napoli. Oliveira was brilliant yesterday. Defensive game, Oliveira was amazing. Yes, everything's gone really, really good for Napoli. For Benfica, we wait something more, because yes, Mourinho is in a positive streak. Right now, we can consider November positive, except the first game against Leverkusen when they lose 1-0. But we saw a good version of Benfica, but Benfica start to lose the train to fight the title, because their draw against Sporting in the last game, it was yes, a game when we saw the tension winning. It was not a really good show for the fans. A lot of tension, not a lot of finalization. Yes, Benfica missed something in creativity, and there must to find solution. I think Napoli arrived better. Napoli is the best moment for the team in the season. For that, I choose double chance X2 with over 1.5 goals, odds 2.25.
Now it's time also to show in Europe, Leo, what they are able to do in Italy, reacting especially in the big games, but away from home, both in Italy and in Europe, there is also this question mark with Napoli.
Yes, and that's why I'm a little bit cautious with them for this one. I'm still handed the tip of being the favorite, of course. The odds are great on them, over 3 for a Napoli win. But I'm going to be a little bit more cautious. I still going to give them the chance, but the double chance. I will go for Napoli double chance straight at 1.62, which is still good, but of course not as good as the 𝐿𝐵 straight of 3.3. But because of how the European campaign so far has gone, that's why we're going to be choosing that double chance, 1.62. But they're in a good moment with Juventus. It was a great night at the Diego Armando Maradona. With Qarabağ, they won 2-0 on Matchday 5, and it could have been, they created enough to make it 4 or 5-0 on that night. They are going through this system change with 3 at the back again because of what Alain was explaining, especially with those midfield injuries they are having. But now without 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲, Gilmour, Lobotka, and De Bruyne, Scott McTominay is the midfield commander in chief. Højlund can now score, and he can score winning goals, as it happened with Sporting Lisbon at this league stage at home, and as it happened as well against Juve on Sunday. They are fighting for that playoff position, Napoli, and this one is a must win for them if they want to make it to the playoff. And Benfica, despite having the first win with Mourinho in this Champions League, one that for me is not going to change anything for them, as they're not going to progress anywhere, I believe. Benfica's Mourinho. Yes, in the Primeira Liga they are third behind Porto and Sporting, but we are already having Mourinho versus the players once again. 2 weeks ago, after the 2-0 win in the Cup, he delivered a brutal assessment, ripping the squad for what he saw a lack of commitment. He said that many players did not take the game seriously. He made 4 subs at halftime, and then said that he would have made 9 substitutions because he only saw 2 players committed. So a little bit more of the same with Mourinho. Again, I could go straight for 𝐿𝐵, but I'm gonna choose Napoli double chance at 1.62.
I agree with you. I can see Benfica out of this Champions League. Next one is Borussia Dortmund, Bodo Glimt, and here Dortmund have a really good chance to qualify in the top 8. Right now they are 6th in this Champions League, and here they are super favorites, only 1.3 to beat the Norwegian team. Now on holidays, they couldn't win the Norwegian league. It was Viking, the leaders, and they have only 2 points. Dortmund winning the last 2 games in the Bundesliga, the leader in Leo in this Champions League, and there are always 4 goals, or a team scoring 4 goals in the Champions League. In Dortmund, so 4-0, 4-1 could be perfect option for this game.
Absolutely, scoring 4 in 4 of the 5 games so far, Dortmund, and even with Manchester City away, even if they finish in defeat, they managed to score at least 1. With Villarreal, as mentioned before, with the Yellow Submarine, yes, they struck in the right time before the end of first half, and then they took advantage against the run of play, I would say, in the second half when everything got easier after Villarreal got down to 10 men, and they scored 2 quick goals. 𝐿𝐵𝐺 is scoring a brace, and only Erling Haaland has scored more goals than 𝐿𝐵𝐺 in his first 23 Champions League matches. 𝐿𝐵𝐺 scored 18 goals. It's a lot. Great record for 𝐿𝐵𝐺. It was a good game as well against Villarreal for Aaron Anselmino, who was as well in the starting lineup on Sunday in the 2-0 win in the Bundesliga. He's a talented defender. He's on loan from Chelsea, the Argentinian one, with a tendency to get injured often. Hopefully he can stay fit now, because he could be a top center back for the future. Adeyemi scored 1 and had another good game against Villarreal in a season in which he's been one of the standout players for 𝐻𝐿𝐵𝐺. Dortmund lost only 1 of their last 20 Champions League matches at home, winning 13 of those. I don't think that Bodo will make it 2 defeats in 21. For sure, it was hard to take for them the defeat at home with Juventus in the dying moments of the game, but also true that Juventus created plenty of chances on that game. They have also said goodbye to playoff chances. They have Manchester City and Atletico Madrid after Dortmund. The odds on Dortmund are hovering the safe bet range. That's why I'm taking Dortmund halftime, full-time market 1.85.
This could be, Alain, easily a nation handicap game back in Dortmund.
Yes, it's probably because we can had Bodo Glimt lose his title at the end of November against in his local league against Viking, and that one is a surprise because we know really well Bodo Glimt, his way of play, but in my opinion, in the last journey we saw a team a little tired against Juventus. They lose a game with a lot of individual mistake, and at this level in Champions League, you pay cash that one. And yes, now travel to Dortmund to close the 2006. It was, in my opinion, really was brilliant in Europe because a semi-final in Europa League. Now in Champions League, we saw some good game about Bodo Glimt, but I think the end of the season was difficult with this local title losing. And now Dortmund, yes, Dortmund is, in my opinion, found a balance, because he is a team with his balance. He is a team known to win 1-0. Is a team can dominate the rival and score with high average of goal score. Yes, Dortmund is in a good moment, except in Pokal, because they go out against Leverkusen last week, lose 1-0. Dortmund is in a really good way, and Dortmund are already fighting to stay in the top 8, and this game is a good opportunity, to win one journey more and consolidate his place, because after their finish with Tottenham in north of London, and after they received Inter, and yes, it's the most important game for this fighting to stay in the top 8, because it's the easier game. And normally this type of game Dortmund manage well. For that reason, I choose Dortmund winning with over 3.5 goals in the game, odds 2.20.
Well, should be a win for Dortmund. The odds are similar for Arsenal, but I would put here a question mark. Actually, we are talking about the best team in Europe. If we just take a look at the schedule at the table in the Champions League, the only one with 5 wins in 5 games. Remember, they beat Bayern Munich in the last match day, but they are coming from a defeat in Villa Park. They are unable to beat the big guns in the Premier League. In Europe is another thing, and of course they are favorite, but this Bruges, Alain, could be dangerous at home, as we saw, for instance, against Barcelona. They also beat Monaco. It's true, of course, that the Arsenal are favorites here, but I think 1.3 are really low odds for Arsenal to win.
Yes, we wait a strong reaction. Losing in Aston Villa. Yes, Aston Villa in the last 10 games in Premier League is the team some more points. And it's okay. Manchester City lose too in Aston Villa. Aston Villa is one of the biggest team. And for the statistical, sometimes losing is a good remind, for the team. And football give you always an opportunity to say it was an accident. We know what don't run in Villa Park, but in Bruges we must to win the game. Bruges arrive bad to this game. Last 4 games, 3 defeats, only the winning in Leuven in Belgium Cup. What happened is the question, because in the last game in Saint-Tron doing a brilliant season this season in Belgium. But we saw a really weak Bruges, especially without the ball in the defense of his area and in the management of the results. It's strange because we saw Bruges doing brilliant things this season, especially in Champions League. It's always difficult for every team to play in Bruges. Barcelona lose point this season. Monaco lose 4-1. Rangers in the playoffs 6-0. Now Arsenal came there. The odds, in my opinion, are not so balanced because warning in Bruges, all the biggest team in the last 5 seasons lose point there. But for the moment of the team Arsenal, it's really favorite. But I choose goal market for this game, both teams to score, because I see Arsenal concede something in Villa Park. Odds 1.95.
And I guess the question, Leo, if the game in Villa Park was an accident because they lost at Anfield, they drew with City, they lost to Aston Villa, the best, not the best teams in England because Liverpool are not, but big games. And another question mark, I guess, is Odegaard, no? If he's improving the team or he was pointed out when Arsenal conceded the second goal.
Yes, and to be honest as well, the away form lately is not the very best for Arsenal in the Premier League. They have not won any of their last 3 games on the road. But in the Champions League, they have good outings in Bilbao and in Prague. The defeat with Aston Villa, Edu, yes, it took an end for that unbeaten run of 18 games for Arsenal. But I think the most worrying thing for them, apart from the defeat, which still is not to make a drama because it was the first defeat since the 31st of August for them, but is that they added more injuries because Mosquera is out now, having Saliba out and Gabriel also out. Probably the most important one as well aspect to take is that they were outfought against Aston Villa. And it happened in 2 of the last 3 Premier Leagues because with Chelsea they played more than an hour with 11 against 10, and still Chelsea finished the best team in Stamford Bridge. In Villa Park, they never looked comfortable, although there was a brief reaction after Arteta introduced Leandro Trossard, and he actually scored, but then he finished the game with a knock, so he's in doubt as well for the game against Brugge. Arteta used already 6 different centre-back partnerships this season. He had problems as well at the left back when Calafiori was as well injured. But I said this before, that for me Arsenal have the most complete squad, so injuries should not be used as an excuse. They're going to have a packed December because they have 6 games left to play before the end of the month. But I believe they can cope. And I believe they're going to bounce back in this game, and Arteta is going to choose probably a more conservative approach of trying to keep a clean sheet and then thinking on the attack. We will see if Merino is going to keep the number 9 position on Wednesday. He scored 4 and provided 3 assists in the last 7 games, but 𝐿 came on against Chelsea. He came on as well against Aston Villa, so I could expect him to start. I think that Bruges won't find the spaces and opportunities they had at home with Barca when they scored 3, but they could have scored 4 or 5. They will play Kairat and Marseille, so at least a point could potentially do good for them. But I don't see that happening against Arsenal. As I said, I expect Arteta to have a more conservative approach, to go back to a clean sheet. That's what my take here. Arsenal to win 2-0, odds of 2.3.
Okay, Arsenal for sure qualifying, I think, in the top 8. And then we have Juventus Pafos. This is a funny game because we have Juventus 6 right now, qualified for the playoffs, same points as Pafos, another big surprise. in this Champions League, this Juventus with really low odds, 1.2, and I would never take these odds for Juventus. A team that, yes, it was better than Bodo Glimt, but we had to wait until the very last minute in a game that they had control. We saw 𝐿𝐵𝐴 finally scoring one of a flop of a signing. We saw also Jonathan David scoring the winner in that game, and we saw again Juventus losing to Napoli. So we know that this Juventus is very limited, even with Spalletti on the bench, and Pafos very competitive in this Champions League. Leo beating Villarreal, drawing with Monaco, Olympiacos, and Qarabağ.
Yes, they are living the dream, Edu, because after getting their first ever Champions League win on Matchday 4, that was followed by the lively 2-2 with Monaco. David Luiz scoring the best header goal of the season for me on that game against Monaco. It will be difficult for them because they still must travel to Stamford Bridge before they close at home against Slavia. But if there is something that I can see here is that I am sure they won't be bullied in Turin. For Juventus, there is no other scenario than winning if they want to make it to the playoff. Anything other than the 3 points could start to put doubting clouds on Spalletti's era, even if this just started. Sunday defeat with Napoli was very far from optimal in result and performance. They were poor once again. Difficult to understand some decisions in the starting lineup. To start 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 as a number 9, false 9 is one of them. I know 𝐿𝐵𝐴, you mentioned 𝐿𝐵𝐴, Jonathan David has been a flop, 𝗀𝗵icic is injured, but the Turkish looked like absolutely lost in that role. In the second half with Jonathan David in the pitch, things were a little bit different and he even scored. If Juventus is mainly at the moment 𝐿𝐵𝐴 plus 10, what's the point of making him uncomfortable? The approach was very cautious from Spalletti, who so far has not made great progress with the team. The win against Bodo, I thought it could spark a revival, and wins against Cagliari and Udinese follow, but at the Diego Armando Maradona, there was a step back once again. On Wednesday, even a scrappy 1-0 will do for Juventus, and I expect a very tense atmosphere. As I said, I can't see Juventus anyway bullying Pafos. I can't see them trashing them. We will see what happens on Wednesday, but now, on a preview, I can't see that happening. That's why my take is Pafos Asian handicap plus 2.5, odds of 1.57.
Would you agree, Alain? You don't see many positives in this Spalletti era? It's been already, 1-2 months, I guess, so we can take a judgment on Spalletti already.
But we can ask Spalletti have the player to build his football. Juventus is 2 seasons. The market is really bad, because when we analyze the list of players arriving Juventus in the last 2 seasons, we don't saw a lot of dominant player. And yesterday we saw this Juventus lack personality, and Juventus in Italy is known for his personality, not for his show, not for his offensive football or champagne football, no, for the personality. And when we see the match in the last weeks, how many players have this personality to play in Juventus? Not a lot. Not a lot, or they must to start to show that, because one of the only guy or the leader, the technical leader and the motivation leader right now is a boy with 20 years, like 𝐿𝐵𝐴. And yes, now yesterday they're losing Napoli, but in the last season is something normal, is a normality, because they lose the last 7 games in Napoli in a row, and but that needs a strong reaction, because Juventus changed a lot of manager in the last season, but the change don't change. And maybe you can start to analyze the player, because when we analyze the attack. Last summer, Juventus don't want more 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀. They try to sold him and buy Openda, buy Jonathan David. Right now, how many goals they scored? And in the content, in my opinion, they're not players can be play in the 11 start in Juventus. Is so many pressure, and right now that one affect a lot the team. Yeah, and in the midfield, the team is built bad, because in the midfield, Juventus suffer in every game, because you can play with two players only in the midfield line, because we will be suffer, because you must to have some player from the wing really dominant, and Juventus don't have that type of player. And the results is Juve, when the attack is really horizontal team, and there are some difficulties to create and dominate the rival. Pafos arrived in Turin without goal received away. In 2 games in Champions League, they don't receive goals. In Olympiacos and in Kairat, yes, but they don't receive goal. We saw that in playoff, is a team really comfortable without the ball, with a low block, really physical, with experience. Is a team known to wait his moment. In spite of that, Juventus need win this game to give some serenity to Spalletti, and I choose Juventus winning with under 4.5 goals, odds 1.70.
Well, the smart bet is telling us under 3.5 goals. 𝐿𝐴𝐵𝐴, Pafos manager, is a defensive manager that we know well in Spain. So under 3.5 goals is 1.76. Even if you go further, under 2.5 goals is 2.84. If we think this is going to be a close game. And the last game, perhaps the best one, Real Madrid, Man City. Who knows if this is a match ball for Xabi Alonso after losing to Celta de Vigo. It's only 1 win in the last 5 La Liga games. This one came at home. The team is completely lost. Nothing is working. It looks like no one is understanding what Xabi Alonso wants from the team. And in Europe, Real Madrid are 5th, but they lost to Liverpool in a challenging game at Anfield. So this is a big test, a big exam for Real Madrid players, for Xabi Alonso. And we have Man City, one of the best attacks in the world. We saw it at the weekend with 𝐻𝐿𝐴 shining, with Foden in great form, with Haaland always very dangerous, with Diaz scoring a rocket. So this Man City are limited in defense, but going forward is a real threat. So perhaps, Alain, we can see a big result here. We could expect goals, and let's see if Guardiola is not making a mess of this Real Madrid and sending Xabi Alonso home.
Yes, and how the Stadium Bernabeu have the reaction after losing against Vigo, because in November it was really a strange schedule for Real Madrid. Play only one game at home. Probably we saw the best version away when the team can run, when the team must to produce football. Real Madrid is not comfortable. It will be said it's easy with Mbappé and Vinicius to attack the space. Is the easy way to play with this team. But the socio in Real Madrid waiting something more, especially against Celta Vigo. What happened in 1 month? Because after winning against Barcelona and against Valencia, Madrid, a lot of people said, okay, is the Xabi Alonso era started. And after maybe the losing Liverpool breaks something in this vestry. And after in Madrid, when they start to no win, not losing, only with 2 draw in a row against Rayo and Elche, the hypothesis start, and the player go to Ibiza during the week. And yes, Xabi Alonso discovered the difficulty to working the press in Madrid. And the game yesterday against Celta Vigo, what we can think, maybe the motivation was not the best. Player was focused with the game against Manchester City. Real Madrid normally in the big events is Real Madrid. Against Manchester City right now is a good opportunity for the vestry to send a message. We are with the manager, because if Manchester City wins 3-0 in Bernabeu, warning, because we know November and December in Madrid for manager are always delicate moments. And when you see in Liga, Barcelona is running, you start to lose so much point in November when we was leader. Yes, I wait. I am impatient to see this game, to understand the relationship between Xabi Alonso and the vestry, because this City sometimes they have some concentration trouble. City can suffer in the last 2 months in Premier League. They lose only against team play a really direct football, like Aston Villa and Newcastle, and against Leverkusen, in my opinion, it was an accident, because we saw, yes, the classical City create a lot of occasion. But that night was not the night, with Flecken in his probably one of his biggest nights, the goalkeeper of Leverkusen, and he's not a reference. We saw a team really productive in offensive way. You guys speak about Alan, Foden with 𝐬𝐭𝐴. Yes, the team start to have a strong identity, no? Because now the team is changed, the cycle changed. Pep try to build another dynasty, no? And the young players sometimes fail, and like in Newcastle, like against Leverkusen. But in Bernabeu, since Guardiola is in the bench, he always score in Bernabeu against Real Madrid. I wait at Real Madrid with the best version of 𝐿 with space. Mbappé against Guardiola team feel always really comfortable since he is debuting in Monaco, and for that I choose over 3.25 goals, odds 2.20.
I guess we should expect goals. The smart bet, the Oddspedia AI, is going for total goals over 2.5. Odds are 1.5. Then double chance for Real Madrid, same odds, 1.5, and total corners under 10.5. Leo, this is a classic of European football. And the bookies place Real Madrid as favorites, slightly as favorites. I would put Man City, to be honest, at this moment in time.
Yes, and I think that if Xabi Alonso checks his email, he's going to find one from Liverpool just asking, how are you? No, because some are thinking of that. Arne Slot out and Xabi Alonso in Liverpool, but that is probably still something too far ahead, but it's true. It could be a crucial game for this Real Madrid, for this Xabi Alonso's era. I know for Wednesday, probably the narrative everywhere is, or at least in England, Mbappe versus Haaland showdown, which everyone is waiting. But the one to look for me is more Ryan 𝐻𝐿. Could be even more than I for Foden than for Haaland, for example, in City. There are moments when you think that this Guardiola City is gelling again, but and they could be in contention for everything. But other nights, like in the defeat with Leverkusen, or even if, as Alain said, and I could agree, it's been an accident, but the defeat with Newcastle away as well leaves you sometimes with a little of deja vu of last season. But anyway, there are things which are becoming very clear with them. Mateus Nunes is far from a great right back, but is the best that Pep has in the team. The centre-back partnership is Ruben Dias, beautiful goal scored in the weekend, and Bardiol, the left-back, is Nico O'Reilly fit? Nico Gonzalez is not going to be even close to a Rodri, but he's enjoying his best time. Bernardo never plays a game below 6 points. Foden is now the Foden of 2 seasons ago. Creative flair with goals. He's enjoying the responsibility of not having Kevin De Bruyne around. Doku is at his best. You can't drop him, something that was not said too often before. Haaland is Haaland, and of course, it's going to be a big test for Real Madrid and Alonso on Wednesday. They drop from the top 8 City, but 3 points would mean that they're going to go above Madrid if they win at the Bernabeu. It was a shock win, yes, for Celta away on Sunday night. Injuries are piling in defense. Yesterday, Militao lasted 20 minutes and joined Huijsen, Mendy, Carvajal, Alaba, and Alexander-Arnold. It was a game for Real Madrid to send the message before City and after a good win in San Mamés, but the message they sent is the wrong one, no? Because if Celta managed to neglect you, what could City do? And then to win when Mbappe does not score is impossible for this Madrid. They lost 3 of the 4 matches in La Liga in which he didn't score. Vinicius is 8 games without celebrating. Rodrigo is 9 months without a goal. So do I trust Real Madrid? Well, not really. But do I trust Mbappe to score? Yes. He has achieved already his best tally in the Champions League campaign with 9 goals. And he has scored 7 goals in 7 Champions League games against Manchester City. That's why my take here in this Real Madrid-Manchester City, Mbappe to score anytime, odds of 1.9.
A classic in Europe, as I said, last season Real Madrid beat them in the playoffs in both legs. Actually, a couple of seasons ago also was Real Madrid to win in penalties in that drama at the Etihad, but before that Man City smashed Real Madrid and Man City won the Champions League. Then 2 of the best teams in Europe, very balanced in the last 10 games played by these teams. 4 wins for Real Madrid, 4 for City, 2 draws. So let's see if Xavi Alonso is still on the bench by Christmas time, or if Man City win here is going to be double painful always, because the competition with Guardiola is always very fierce if we talk about Real Madrid. Well, guys, this is it. Match day 6, games on Wednesday, last games of 2025 in the Champions League. Remember that you have the chance to participate in our tipster competition, so just log in the Oddspedia website and place your tips, and you have the chance to win some money. Same for Rivals, where you can create your own tipster competitions. Let's see if we see surprises. Let's see if we have safe bets for this match day. Alain?
Borussia Dortmund winning, odds 1.32.
Leo?
I choose the same game, but goals market. Dortmund, Bodo goals over 2.5, odds of 1.35.
Asian handicap game, probably this Dortmund, Bodo, Glimt, and the ACCA, Leo?
Dortmund to win, plus goals over 2.5. PSG to win, Mbappe to score anytime. These 3 together, 5.32.
Alain?
Villarreal Copenhagen over 1.75 goals, Athletic PSG over 2.75 goals, Bayer Leverkusen Newcastle over 2.75 goals for a total 4.59.
Thank you, Alain. Thank you, Leo. See you this week. Bye-bye.